Hey everybody, it's Party Elite here with another episode of Total Breakdown. Today we see an excellent battle from the fantastically titled Elvish Dance Party Tournament hosted by Shetland Apache. In it, Crabling leads his Greenskins against the Dark Elves of Falcon at Iron Mountain Pass. For more constant and intense tournament action, make sure you check out Shetland Apache on Twitch. I'll link to his channel in the description down below. He is most certainly worth watching. We begin, of course, with talk of composition and deployment, and as you can probably tell right away, there's some serious scheming from the Greenskins today. We've got Azag the Slaughterer in charge up in the air, and up front we've got these 4 units of Goblin Wolf Rider Archers, one of them being Mogreb's Mangy Marauders. On either flank we have a pair of Night Goblin Squig Hoppers, one of them being Dirkit's Squigs over here on the right, and to the back here you can see we've got a pair of Savage Orc Boar Boys on either flank as well, with their armor-piercing damage and their physical resistance, which is quite helpful in this matchup. We also have the Forest Goblin Spider Riders, 1 unit to the left, a pair to the right, and then over here in the middle you can see we've got some Goblin Archers on either flank and Rusty Arrows in the middle over here, able to provide some range support when the action kicks off. On the other side of the field, the Dark Elves are being led by none other than Crone Hellebron on foot, and she does have with her a Death Hag atop her Cauldron. We also have a Sorceress of Dark Magic atop her horse. Up front you can see we've got these Bleak Swords bringing up the front line, and right behind them we do have a pair of Sisters of Slaughter on either flank to bring in some support. We also have the Cold One Knights on either flank, and up front here you can see the Chill of Sontar already trying to get some work done, while back here to the flank, tucked away in the trees, we have these Dark Riders. So as I was saying, the Chill of Sontar already trying to get some work done to kick things off with some early aggression, using its breath attack atop these Mogreb's Mangy Marauders here, hoping to get some damage done to this fairly threatening unit with its armor-piercing missiles, hoping to eliminate and cause some damage at least to these Mogreb's Mangy Marauders and maybe try and scare them off nice and early. So you see the shots coming in, doing a fair bit of hurt there, dropping quite a few of these Goblins off their wolves, and then returning fire, though the War Hydra here not going to have a good time under all of that intense range support. While over here we've got Azag the Slaughterer pushing forward and hitting the Sorceress of Dark Magic with Spirit Leech, just trying to get some damage done nice and early, remove that magical support as early as possible, while you can see a beautiful split happening over here as the Greenskins move in to encircle the enemy, come in from all directions, and limit their options, basically. Over here you can see as well the Chill of Sontar in a terrible position, getting shot at from multiple directions by all of these Goblin Wolf Rider Archers. Beautifully done there, using that range support to take care of a very threatening unit, while also pulling Azag back into safety. No need to push him forward and leave him susceptible to any potential magical damage. And you can see we've got these Wolf Riders all pulling back as these Goblin Archers and Rusty Arrows now are able to fire away at these Cold One Knights over here. Despite their bronze shields, they're going to take a fair bit of damage, and they do have to pull away into safety as these Savage Orc Boar Boys come a little too close for comfort. And you can see they are drawing some aggro. All of that range fire is hitting some of these Sisters of Slaughter now rather than the War Hydra. In comes Wah as these Goblin Archers as well pull back into safety, as the Death Hag as well as the Sorceress are trying to close the gaps over here. In comes another use of that Spirit Leech, trying to get some more damage done to this Sorceress of Dark Magic as she gets a nice rear charge into these Goblin Archers, slaying a handful of them, I believe, causing a fair bit of damage at least to morale here, dropping morale instantly down by about 50%. Meanwhile, on the right flank over here, you can see we've got all of these Forest Goblin Spider Riders as well as these Savage Orc Boar Boys taking advantage of Wah as it is active right now, diving right into these Cold One Knights as well as these Bleak Swords over here, hoping to come out on top. In comes the Gaze of Cain from Crone Hellebron herself, of course, trying to win this right flank engagement as this left flank engagement kicks off as well. You can see the Chill of Sontar in an ideal situation, as we do have the Savage Orc Boar Boys as well as the Forest Goblin Spider Riders just pouncing on the Chill of Sontar as well as these Bleak Swords. And again, Wah is active, significantly buffing the melee capabilities of these Greenskins who are now engaged in melee. We also have these Night Goblin Squig Hoppers who managed to get around the entire formation and pushing for some rear charges wherever possible, I should say. While here you can see we have the Goblin Wolf Rider Archers firing away at the Sisters of Slaughter, while at the same time we do have the Death Hag right in on these Goblin Archers who are in a bit of trouble over here, being taken care of by both the Sorceress as well as the Death Hag. But as you can see, we speed up, and the Sisters of Slaughter here closing the gap into these Goblin Wolf Rider Archers, but the Sisters of Slaughter have been very largely taken care of as Azag over here as well, looking for an opportunity to get involved somewhere. This central situation is not going well for either faction, really. We have the Greenskins taking a fair bit of damage to morale and health, while in response as well, all of these Bleak Swords and Cold One Knights made to rampage. They're stuck in combat. These Savage Orc Boar Boys, again, they are physically resistant. They are also armor-piercing, so they will get a fair bit of damage done as we get these rear charges coming in from Dirkit's Squigs, as well as these Night Goblin Squig Hoppers. So beautifully done here by both parties, trying to get some damage done to both sides on this right flank, on this very crucial right flank. And you can see the Gaze of Cain is lasting just a little bit longer, of course, than Wah did. And with Wah wearing off, now might be the time for the Dark Elves to come out on top during that engagement over there. Meanwhile, back here you can see the Rusty Arrows trying to provide some support, firing away at the Death Hag, as we do get this beautiful charge coming in from these Dark Riders trying to shut down the Rusty Arrows. We have the Goblin Archers over here as well, precariously close to those cavalry units, while over here the Sisters of Slaughter largely taken care of as all of these Goblin Wolf Rider Archers firing away still at the Chill of Sontar, trying to drop that War Hydra as quickly as possible. It is quite low in health and in morale, so might be able to scare that War Hydra off. While back over here you can see we've got some of these spiders giving up on the fight, but we also have some of these Dark Riders giving up on the fight as well. Both sides starting to sort of falter and give up, pull back into safety as the Chillisantara gets a bit of support coming in there with that breath attack, trying to provide some help against, I believe, these Night Goblin Squig Hoppers who managed to run away into safety. Azag as well needing to pull away, taking up into the air into safety as all of these Savage Orc Boar Boys as well scared off, terrified off. Word of Pain was activated to try and reduce their capabilities in melee. Beautifully done there, but as you can see, the Dark Elves have handily won that engagement over there, while back over here, though, these Sisters of Slaughter have been scared off under all of that range support, despite being engaged with a non-melee unit there. They were scared off, while at the same time you can also see back over here we have these Dark Riders giving up on the fight as they did get picked off by all of that range support. And up front, meanwhile, you can see this War Hydra still the focus of all the attention from these Goblin Wolf Rider archers, trying to take care of that War Hydra. It is so low on health, so low on morale right now, it can be scared off, but you can see we've got Crone Hellebrand and the Death Hag pushing in, so the Death Hag is the new center of attention here, taking a lot of range fire. They're hoping to drop this Death Hag before it's able to do too much work, but unfortunately it does manage to close the gap, and it's going to cause a tremendous amount of hurt right now. You can see we've got these Night Goblin Squig Hoppers giving up on the fight. In comes Azag, hoping to get a nice rear charge into the Chill of Santar. Crone Hellebrand immediately turning around, trying to deal damage in response to Azag, and Azag is not in a good spot at all. His health is dropping significantly, extremely quickly. He needs to pull back into safety. He needs to take to the air, and he tries to do exactly that. As off in the distance, you can see we have these rampaging Cold One Knights willing to dive into any combat situation, while we have these Savage Orc Boar Boys able to push in and shut down some of these cavalry units that are barely hanging in there right now. Over here as well, you can see we've got Durkit Squigs able to push in alongside these Savage Orc Boar Boys into this central engagement, where Azag, again, in a terrible situation. He is very close to giving up on fight. He is wavering right now. He pops Foe Seeker to try and get out of there as the Chill of Santar gets bogged down in combat. He's able to take to the air, recover some of his morale over here, and now willing to fight once more as these Sisters of Slaughter being taken care of by these Savage Orc Boar Boys. And back in the middle over here, you can see the Chill of Santar very close to giving up on the fight. In comes a nice rear charge from these Savage Orc Boar Boys, trying to get this Chill of Santar to give up on the fight, both in terms of health and morale. Either or will work right now, while back here you can see we got a nice charge coming in from these Dark Riders. A nice opening over here. The Rusty Arrows are not going to have a good time. In comes the charge. The Rusty Arrows are falling apart. The Goblin Archers as well, very close to that cavalry unit, but in comes Azag the Slaughterer, responding instantaneously. Great awareness there. Great job noticing that rear charge as soon as it happened, sending Azag in to take care of these Dark Riders now, to hopefully eliminate that cavalry unit that is otherwise quite threatening against such a range-heavy army. Meanwhile, over here you can see the Chill of Santar managing to hang in there. Morale is back up now. Health is still very low, but morale is up. So all of these Goblin Wolf Rider Archers and the Maugre's Mangy Marauders focusing down on the Chill of Santar once more. Again, hoping to eliminate that extremely threatening unit. And the Chill of Santar, very close to death right now, needs to maybe close the gap towards something to get one last hurrah in, maybe get one more breath attack in if it's available even. And the Death Hag as well, very low on health, trying to close the gap to some of these Goblin Archers as the Sorceress manages to close the gap. And at the same time, we do have Soul Stealer coming down in this central clump over here, hitting Azag the Slaughterer, hoping to recover some health, I believe, on the Sorceress of Dark Magic here, but Azag quite wisely pulls back into safety, takes to the air to minimize the amount of damage being done by Soul Stealer. At the same time, you can see we've got all of these Maugre's Mangy Marauders and Goblin Wolf Rider Archers pushing into melee as they are right now out of ammunition, so coming in with some nice rear charges. Beautifully done. We've got these Goblin Wolf Rider Archers as well coming with some rear charges right into these Bleak Swords. Beautiful awareness there. Great use of these range units. Now they're out of ammunition. Send them in for rear charges whenever possible to get that slight touch of extra damage in there, the slight touch of extra morale damage as well coming in from the sides and the rears, getting some of these Bleak Swords to give up on the fight. But you can see Crone Hellebrand is still very much willing to fight. She does pop Heroic Killing Blow, getting that extra damage output, trying to take care of as much as she can. But Azag here taking a bit of a risk, diving in towards the Death Hag here, hoping to take care of yet another threatening unit. Very low on health, very low on morale, wavering right now, and there comes the break. The Death Hag is routing as well as all of these range shots continue to pour in into that Death Hag, I think hoping to actually eliminate the unit once and for all, making sure it doesn't actually return as these Sisters of Slaughter over here push in towards the central clump. You can see Goblin Wolf Rider Archers and Maugre's Mangy Marauders giving up on the fight as Azag the Slaughter is looking for an opportunity to dive in somewhere. Momentarily distracted, I think, back there by some of these Sisters of Slaughter who were taking care of these Goblin Archers, but then ultimately deciding to stay involved in this central situation over here, I think, as some of these other Goblin Archers might be able to support against the Sisters of Slaughter. We also have these Savage Orc Boar Boys back there who would be able to push in and respond against these Sisters of Slaughter if necessary. But as, like, again, you can see, sort of indecisive right now, wanting to dive in, wanting to get involved, being very picky, not wanting to get involved with Crone Hellebrand, as he would get very quickly destroyed if he decided to do that, playing it very safe. But in comes another charge from some of these Goblin Wolf Rider Archers, trying to hold, I think, Crone Hellebrand in place. She once more pops the Gaze of Cain over here, trying to provide some support to all of our allied troops over here, getting them to rampage, trying to avoid the fact that they will give up on the fight. They're very close to giving up on the fight, but in comes the rampage and the support that comes with the Gaze of Cain, of course, to leadership, as well as weapon damage and melee attacks, trying to take care of these Savage Orc Boar Boys over here. Will that be enough? The balance of power is still quite even back here. You can see, though, the Sisters of Slaughter made to shatter completely as Azak the Slaughter, once more looking for an opportunity to get involved, dives in over here against these Sisters of Slaughter, hoping that that will cause enough damage to help them morale, that they will begin to rout. They do begin to rout immediately, and Crone Hellebron as well, you can see, very close to giving up, very close to shattering. This might be a mass rout over here as Azak pulls back into safety, dives into the Sorceress back there as we get all of these surrounds coming in from multiple directions. We have the Savage Orc Boar Boys as well coming in from the side here, getting a full surround on Crone Hellebron, and in comes Wah. Insult to injury there, salt on the wounds. Doom and Darkness comes in to try and provide some extra damage to morale over here, and you can see Crone Hellebron terrified, shatters, and a Pyrrhic victory for a glorious Greenskin army. This is one for the history books, boys and girls, as the Greenskins came in with one of those strange goblin-heavy builds featuring only a handful of orcs and featuring no melee infantry. Focusing down on the War Hydra while splitting the army up for a full encirclement was a great idea, opening the Dark Elves up to charges from all angles, and, most importantly, forcing a degree of indecision on them. Well-targeted ranged attacks minimized the most threatening Dark Elf units with ease before lines even met, and the few times they did, Azag was very quick to respond and show why he's called the Slaughterer. The Dark Elves held the metaphorical line for a long time, but without anything to shut down the tremendous range support that couldn't in turn be shut down by Greenskin cavalry, their day was doomed. As always, make sure you subscribe to this channel for more Total War content and keep sending in those battle replays. I do think it's one of the best ways to learn, and it's always nice to highlight such amazing battles from the community. I'd also like to thank all of my patrons and channel members for supporting the channel on a month-to-month basis, keeping us alive and running smoothly. Thank you all very much for watching. I'll see you on the battlefield.